This is Tech Talk Detroit with Brian Spurgeon and Chuck Lobert. Tech Talk Detroit brings you the latest in tech news and Detroit happenings every week.
Welcome back to Tech Talk Detroit. We're happy to have you with us again. How you doing, Brian?
Doing good as always, Chuck. Nice, coming off a nice long weekend, so ready to get back to it. How about
What'd
yourself?
you do over the weekend?
I would like to say it was just like any other, but I did pick up a puppy. So, needless to say, I have been unbelievably busy, tied up with him, and but it's been good. It's been real good. But aside from that, I had some family over. Smoked a leg of lamb yesterday, which came out amazing. And much like you, set up a new Blackstone griddle this weekend and played around with that. So I feel like I just kind of settled into dad mode this weekend, and I'm okay with that.
I like it. What kind of puppy?
It's a Labradoodle, chocolate lab and chocolate poodle mix. So
awesome. Yeah, very cute. I've seen pictures and on the video a little bit. Looks like a good puppy.
So far, so good. When he wants to be.
Yeah, I think that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
I think I've got two that are no longer puppies, and I still think that's the way it goes. So
yeah,
get used to it. Yeah, like you mentioned, I picked up a Blackstone over or I guess Thursday, I think last week. After you told me you got yours, people probably haven't picked up on this yet, but Brian and I kind of tend to be a little bit competitive at times, and
absolutely.
It's all in good.
You had to go get the
good fun.
Upgraded model to mine naturally.
Yeah. I was already looking for that one, but I'm not going to say it didn't play into the decision a little bit, as it would have for you had you gone after I got mine.
100%.
You'd have the air fryers. You'd have.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm still getting used to it, but definitely enjoying it. It's really cool. I've been bringing out the griddle and the grill, so like I've just been setting up like an outdoor kitchen almost. It's been a lot of fun. So I still like to do the corn on the cob on the grill itself, and then I've been doing everything else on the griddle. So I think my neighbors think I love. In fact, my neighbor came out the other day, Wednesday or Thursday, and I waved to him, and he just looks at me. He goes, "Do you guys even own a stove?" Because I'm always out there grilling. I'm like, but I just enjoy this too much. So
I'm the same way. Yeah, and that griddle, it's a lot of fun, man.
It is.
The fact that you can just do everything at the same time it's unbeatable.
Yeah, I got to teach myself all the tricks that they do at Mongolian barbecue. Start flipping stuff around and catching the bowl behind my back and everything.
Yeah, you got to do your hibachi Benihana night with the family and start practicing your tricks.
That way I can bring it to the office when we get back there.
Exactly.
We were talking about getting a grill for the office. Now I'm contemplating, should we get a griddle for the office instead?
Totally agree. Agree. Because we could cook for everybody at the same time. Right. I think they'd like that.
Yeah, we could make some breakfast. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We could cook.
Yeah.
I don't do anything else around there, so I might as well.
Maybe.
Cook.
Yeah, maybe a little work in between. We have time.
Shut your mouth. But speaking of the office and getting back, we're still all working remotely, as we've talked previously about how we're working on the new office, and we're still all working remotely until that's ready, which is looking, hopefully October 1st, but there's a good chance it'll be more like middle of October, maybe even beginning of November. So, we've still been home since March 9th, I think it was, and still working remotely, and everything's still chugging along. So it's worked out well. But we thought we would take a little bit of time today and talk about employee retention, and specifically around technical employees, and from if you're currently a CIO or if you're running an organization and you've got tech staff, how do you keep them engaged? How do you keep them happy? There's so many jobs out there. It tends to be a revolving door at a lot of places, and thankfully that's not something that we've had to deal with a lot, but I thought we would take a little bit of time and talk about, why we feel that is and what we try to do to keep people happy and keep people here at the company.
Yeah, I think it's a good talking point. I think it's something that, all small, medium-sized businesses deal with. It's not just tech companies. I know, especially a lot in the Metro Detroit area, there's a lot of automotive suppliers, obviously. So there's a lot of competition within the market, similar to our industry. And employee retention can be difficult at a lot of times. So I think, like you said, we've done a really good job of finding, A-level talent and finding a way to be able to keep and develop that talent to be here for a while. Obviously, both of us, I've been here for, I think, 11 years. You've been here for 15 or so. So we were a product of that good environment, and that's what kept us here, right? And we've just kind of took that and built onto it better. So I think it is a good talking point. We can kind of share some of the stuff, some of the successes we've had, and I think it's a focus that every company should have. Your company is only as good as your employees, and if you're constantly dealing with hiring, it's hard to move forward with the business.
Yeah, and it's hard to hire. I mean, it takes a long time to hire. So if that's something that you have to do, even if you have to do it, say 3-4 times a year because of turnover, that basically becomes your full-time job, is you're just hiring. It doesn't really leave you any time for improvement or anything else, because it takes a lot of time to find the right person and get them hired. So if you're not keeping people happy and they're going out just as quickly as they're coming in, it's kind of pointless.
Totally. So I think that's a good starting point is you found somebody you want to extend an offer to, you've hired somebody. And I think from day one, even in the interview process, that's kind of where you start to set the tone. And, we have a very thorough interview process, right? So we do a 3-step interview. I know we've gotten into that previously. We validate them technically. Then we have, a bigger discussion with a couple of extra, members that are relevant to this hire. And then we do a big cultural meeting and kind of give them our expectations, try to feel out what their expectations are for us. So you've made the offer. I think that's where it starts, though, is the initial 90 days. And what I always tell every new hire is, this is a 90-day probationary period. Your expectations are laid out up front, right? We develop a very customized roadmap for each position. And on the first day they hire in, we take the time to go through everything in that roadmap, make sure they understand it. If they want to, if they need help building a schedule or task, we take the time to make sure that they do understand their expectations. And also, it's a time to understand what do they expect out of us as an employer, because I think a lot of companies are so focused on, we're going to bring somebody in, we're extending you an offer. But in reality, the people applying are also interviewing you. And it's just as important for them to feel like you're a good fit for them. And I think that's where it starts. So I think the 90-day period is crucial. If you're a company listening, if you don't do anything like that, you just hire somebody in and just kind of throw them right in. I think that's something you should evaluate, because it gives both parties an opportunity to come to a conclusion if maybe it's not going to work out. Alternatively, you might get 6 months, a year down the line, and then realize it's not going to be a good fit and that's very disappointing when you realize, if we would have just kind of hit it right from the start, we could have maybe got ahead of this and not invested 6 months to a year into an employee that wasn't going to work out. So I think that's kind of where, where you set the tone. And, unfortunately, we have had employees that don't work out in that 90-day, but to our benefit, to their benefit, you're able to come to that conclusion and adjust very quickly and not get so far down the road. So I think that's a good spot. But moving on from that, you found a good candidate. I think the environment they work in is of the utmost important, especially as the workforce gets younger. And I know you're huge on the environment that we work in, right? You always have been a strong advocate for, bringing things that are maybe above and beyond the business. So, talk about that a bit. Obviously, we're going through this new office, so we've just gone through the ringer of, we've had the opportunity to have a fresh reset on the space.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think a big thing is just listening to the rest of the staff. It's, you can try to figure that you just know what people want and, put what you think would be cool into a spot or what you would enjoy into a spot. And that's one way to go about it. But if you're the only one that enjoys it, you didn't really do any, benefit as far as the company culture is concerned. So I think a lot of it is, talking to the staff, listening to what they have to say, and then implementing ideas. And that's, something I know I've mentioned before of, why I have been here for 16 years is because that's always been a part of the culture, is listening to, when I started as a tech, I was listened to, and if I needed something, I pretty much always got it if it made sense, and we've been able to do the same type of thing, keep that culture moving forward. From day one, when somebody starts, it's not necessarily just, here's your device, I hope you like it. It's, we talk through, we might have a few different options. What screen size do you like better? Do you like this type of machine over this type? So even just those simple things. And, down to if somebody says, oh, you know what, I really would like a standing desk. We've gotten standing desks for people, just different things like that, where, you listen to people and what they feel is going to help them be more successful, enjoy their time in the office better. Because ultimately you got to realize that when you're working in the office and you're working there full time, that's a lot of time that you're asking somebody to spend away from their home, away from their family, all of that kind of stuff, and focus on their work. If they're not comfortable, if they aren't, happy with what they have, if they don't have everything that they need to be successful, you're just not going to, get as much productivity out of them, for one. But two, they're not going to stay, because why would you? If you have an employer that just says, here's what you get, take it or leave it, they don't care about you as a person beyond just what you can provide to them, right, to help their business grow. But I think you have to show that you truly care about people, that you want everybody to be happy. We always talk about having kind of a family atmosphere, and that's a part of it is, when you have a family atmosphere, you care about people and you want them to be comfortable and to enjoy their time. So, like right now, we're designing out this new office space and working with designers, and a lot of the questions that they're asking, the answers aren't coming from our personal opinions or viewpoints. It's coming from discussions that we've had with the staff and what's important to them. When we do go back to the office, what's going to make them feel safe right now? What kind of policies need to be in place? What kind of infrastructure needs to be in place for them to feel safe going back to the office in this COVID world that we live in right now? So there's lots of different things like that. And then I think you always have to have that, and I think this is especially important. I think it's important in any type of work, but especially for IT, you have to have that fun outlet as well. People that take calls all day long, and, a lot of times those calls are coming from somebody that's upset, not at them, but at the fact that, they got a job that needs to get done and they can't do it right now because they're having some kind of a problem with their computer infrastructure, whatever it is. So you have somebody that's just taking calls all day long from people that aren't real happy. It can be a very stressful job. It can get to you very easily. And if somebody lets that get to them, now that goes from call to call, and now they're affecting the person that they're talking to as well. So you have to be able to have those outlets where somebody can get up from their desk, take a break, and do something fun. Right now in our office, we have a ping pong table that we're going to carry that over to the new office, but now we're going to add more, areas that people can go and lounge and take a break and do something fun, whether it's gaming or maybe throwing darts or, something along those lines. We're putting in a really nice kitchen so that, people that really enjoy having, nice food, and they can cook and make themselves something, so there's lots of different areas where people will be able to go and take a break. And a lot of this is coming from talking to people about, what's going to be important to you. What do you enjoy doing, if you take a break? Because if you just throw a ping pong table in the office like we've done in the past, because that's frankly all that would fit, the people that you hire that don't enjoy playing ping pong, that doesn't really do anything for them. So you got to have more than just one thing for people to do, so that everybody kind of has that option. And it's always been something that I've tried to push too. is, having those fun take a break areas, because frankly, you and I have done this job. We've done the job of being on the phone, taking those calls. We know the stress that goes along with that, and we know that it was important to us to be able to, whether even as simple as get up and walk around, the outside of the office or something, just get away for a little bit. So that's something that we've been big on, in the office now, and now moving into the new office especially.
Yeah, I think you hit on a couple of good points there. I think, that leaders eat last mentality of, it's, yes, there's certain vision we have for the office, but in terms of what opportunities are in there to step away from the job, we've relied heavily on the staff to come up with that input, and that's what we've executed on. So I think that is a key element, is to make sure that the environment is, above all else, one that's going to cater to the staff you have. That's certainly going to aid with the employee retention. And the reality is, for us in particular in the technology field, we're competing against much larger companies. We're trying to acquire the same talent and compete with Microsoft, Facebook, Google, because all these offices, they have offices here in the Metro Detroit area. They're hiring for similar types of positions, and they're hiring from the same talent pool that we are. And obviously, we're not competing with them from a revenue standpoint. We're partners with, a lot of these big companies. However, we are competing for people. And I think that's something that is very important to realize as we move forward. I think, the workforce is getting younger, right? I mean, I'm 35 now. You're about 62, and the reality is, though, is almost every single person we hire is younger than both of us. It's pretty rare that we get candidates now that are in our in between our age bracket, right? And most of the people applying are in the early 20s. So I think our company is getting younger, and that's what's important to them. I think, the younger generation, it's, we've all seen it, we've all read about it, but they value the environment and the culture in which they work in. The mentality is, if I'm going to spend a large percentage of my time at work, it needs to be somewhere that I feel comfortable, that I enjoy going to. Because
that's a fair mentality too. That's the thing, is you can look at that and go, well, oh no, that shouldn't matter to you. But frankly, it's fair. You are spending a lot of time there, so it should be.
Totally. Yeah. I think, it makes entire sense. So, that's kind of the way you have to look at it, is you got to have an environment that captivates people. When we have interviews, when we bring people in, right, it's a little tougher with this virtual life we're in, obviously, because they can't kind of see our environment. But that's the second a candidate walks through a door, take yourself back to the last interview you had. You're immediately looking around. You're looking at the type of people you're seeing, how's these desks set up? What's in this office? Is it clean? Is it loud? Is it chaotic? And that's the kind of thing so the second they walk in, just like is this person on time? What did they wear to the interview? Do they look professional? There's kind of a mutual, investigation going on there. And, so I think it's important to have that environment that really captivates. You want somebody that sees your office, goes through an interview, walks out and says, calls their significant other, their parents, whoever it is, says, I love this place. I need to get this job. Right. And that's what we shoot for. So, and
I think too, knowing what's important to different people, like I think of, when we were trying to figure out the new coffee setup for the new office, right? I'm into coffee, and I could have very easily gone out and just picked what I liked, and I went out and found some stuff, but we have a particular person in our office who's really into coffee. So, I sent my ideas to him, and he sent back different ideas, and we ordered what he suggested, because now he's going to go in, and it's everybody's going to be able to enjoy the coffee, but for him that's going to be something special because he's into coffee, and then I think I was showing some of the stuff to somebody else, and they said, oh man, if you have one of those, I'll never leave the office. And so you better believe I'm going to order one of those, not because we don't ever want them to leave the office, but because that's them saying, yeah, that would be really cool, and I would enjoy that, right? So I think it's just a matter of listening to people, even if they don't realize that they're making suggestions for the new office or for your existing office, whatever it is, just listen to people and go off of that.
Totally. So I think another good point to hit on then is, you've got a good workspace, you hire in, you got good talent, is how do you develop that talent and how do you keep them for the long haul, right? So I think, the next couple bullet points really that you have to really iron out and figure out is, what is the upward mobility that my work staff has? If everybody naturally wants to grow and move to bigger, better positions, take on bigger responsibility, and also they want to grow not just from their title, but from an actual knowledge and skill set standpoint. And I think I see that becoming more and more important with, again, as the workforce gets younger. That's something that I think, 5 years ago doing an interview, I didn't quite hear as much. Now, almost every interview I do where somebody's coming from another competitor or from another company, it's very rarely money driven that they're making the move. It's almost always that they feel they're being held back. They don't have opportunity to take on more responsibility. So to that point, I think, that can be a really tough struggle for again, more small and medium-sized businesses, because we don't have this org chart that has 20 positions of a ladder you need to climb before you get to a particular role, right? Where, the day you roll in, these employees, they know exactly their pay scale and exactly what they need to do every single step of the way, right? That's how the corporation ladders work. So for the small, medium business, it's a lot tougher, right? I mean, we have, on a help desk, right? You got a manager, you got a lead, you got engineers. So somebody that hires in as engineer, if they're looking at it from a job title standpoint, it may not look as enticing in terms of growth. But the reality is you have to show and prove to your employees that titles are just that. They're just titles. Your opportunity, you have more opportunity than you can ever manage here, right? And I think that's kind of the system we've adopted, and it's worked well. It's, what is your specialty? What do you want to do 5 years from now? You want to be a security expert? Perfect. We have an opportunity here for that, right? So let's start tailoring your training. Let's get you all the security training you need to do to have that skill set so that you can start to drive that. And I think, it's that tough balance between having the titles, but being able to use specializations, have subject matter experts in your company where people still have plenty of objectives to work towards. And I think that's really key as well, to keeping people, is you're going to grow their skill set, you're going to challenge them, and they feel like, they don't have to go and make drastic moves to other departments and maybe take on management positions to feel like they've gotten promoted, when really they have no management aspirations. So I think that's very key, is to be able to show somebody you have so much opportunity here to take on more responsibility and be compensated as such, regardless of your title. And I think that's something that we've done a good job of doing. Also, it's important for us. We want employees that want to train, that want to skill up. We want to serve our clients better. So we also make sure that we bonus employees when they do certifications that help out our business case, right? It's a mutually exclusive relationship. I want you to grow your skill set more so that we service better. And I need that. So I'm gonna compensate you for doing that. But also this employee, they want to learn more. They want to have better. And at some points, you might hit a point where this employee, you've kind of given them all the opportunity they can get at your company. And I think in those situations, you also have to be okay to say, I understand. And in those situations, those are the ones I'm hoping for. If somebody needs to leave the company, it's because they've been here and we've developed them so much that the next opportunity for them is something that I just can't give you. So that's kind of the goal of what I go towards. And, it's never fun to lose somebody, but at the same time, if you've done all of that stuff, you've given them an environment, you've grown that person, that's something that you should also be proud of.
Yeah, and I think, to kind of go along with that, part of it too is, as in any small business, generally your leadership team is kind of, to use a phrase that I hate, but I off the top of my head can't think of something better, wears a lot of hats, right? You have a lot of different responsibilities. So part of that growth might be opening yourself up to giving away some of that responsibility as people grow into different roles too. So, even if it doesn't look like there's upward mobility, because you might think, well, what, the next thing I would have to do is take my boss's job. That may not be the case. It may be take part of my boss's job. And to me, part of being, a good leader is recognizing that and being willing to hand over some of that responsibility so that you can focus on different things, focus more on other parts of your job, whatever it is, and then hand over some of that to enable that upward growth and enable, hopefully they'll come in and do an even better job than you were able to do because you had so many different responsibilities. So I think that's a big piece of it too. And then I think going beyond that is just,
it is tough to do. It is hard to do that. But you're absolutely right. It's something you have to come to terms with and do.
Yeah, and what you generally do find is that they do a better job than you were doing because, like I said, you're tackling 5 different responsibilities and they're able to tackle 1 or 2. So and I think beyond that is just making sure that a lot of what we've talked about goes into your company culture, right? Making sure that you have a fun company culture, that you have team events, you build that camaraderie. Even right now, we do weekly happy hours. I try to join, whenever possible. Usually I'm out grilling, surprise, surprise. And I'll be on my phone and but it's nice, just kind of take a little bit of time, don't talk about work, just catch up with everybody, and that's kind of the extent of what we can do right now. But in normal, when we're back at the office, we usually do regular events and get together as a team outside of the office and such. And I think that's a big part of it too, is just kind of taking a break from the work side of things and get to know each other on a personal level and have fun together. And I think that's a big part of kind of growing them and helping them to be successful and helping them to enjoy coming to work every day.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's key, man. And the reality is too is a lot of times employees they build friendships with other fellow coworkers. So by doing these cultural events and doing these different things that are outside of the normal day-to-day expectation, it gives an opportunity for the employees that maybe don't have a lot of interaction day to day to have opportunities to bond and kind of expand upon that. And we're in a day and age where collaboration, I feel like in almost every industry, is becoming more and more required in order to do the work that's asked of us. And it's just one of the best ways, I think, to get a good, open, honest environment where people can know that they can rely on their colleagues for assistance, but also we can also promote an environment that we're critical when we need to be, and challenge each other and maybe sit in a room and be able to hash out a topic that is of debate and be able to come to common ground and walk out and not any tension. There's no tension there, that it's back to business as normal. And I think that's all key as well by having this environment. It goes back, if you got a stressful environment, that's going to trickle over into critical conversations and not be a position where a lot of people may not like that, and you might lose good employees just by collateral damage, right? As such. So I think that's key. And it's the reality is it's a complex thing. Employee retention is hard and it's ever changing. And I'm sure we could have the same topic again in 6 months, and I'll have some new feedback to give you on how something did or didn't work. But that's always it's always ever changing. It's always a focus. But what we can always agree on is to be stuck in a hiring cycle it's just detrimental to the business growth.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, hopefully, everybody that's listening is able to take something away from today that they can apply in their own organization and help them as far as employee retention, keeping people happy, building a good atmosphere, good culture. That's kind of what we wanted to talk about today is just around that topic, and especially right now it can be tough, but there's still things that we can do for sure. So hope that you enjoyed listening, and we will talk to you again in a couple of weeks.
Interact with Tech Talk Detroit at techtalkdetroit.com or on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.